Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I have Pratish here with me. I have Sachit here with me. Um, I'm not gonna introduce them. I want Sachit. Can you introduce yourself?
So I don't know if I think you have everyone told them my name. So I'm Sachidanand Dev. Originally, these guys are calling me Sachit. Some people call me Sach. I have 7 nicknames. I go by many names. So I did Master of Science in Electrical Engineering at Columbia University. Graduated in the year 2017, and then I moved on to work in Qualcomm here in San Jose. Apart from that, I'm also Columbia's Graduate Student Life Award winner for the December 2017. Time sure flies by, so yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so a lot of things. I'm involved in community building. I'm involved in leadership skills. Attended a conference last week here in SF, and this guy's invited me back in SF. I'll be back. So yeah, nice to meet you all of you guys, and good to have two great people in here alongside.
Okay, all right. So that's really great, Sachin, and thank you so much for coming down on a sunny San Francisco afternoon. It does get pretty hot, but I think it gets very nippy in the evenings. So let's start off with how this beautiful journey began, right? So let's go back to the very inception of the idea that you wanted to do your masters. Could you tell us a bit more about when was this and where were you and why did you choose to do so?
So this thought of doing masters in US actually started in the 4th year of my graduation. I remember I did my undergrad in Mumbai University, and I think the people who are watching this from Mumbai University must be aware of it, that there are very few electrical engineering companies that come to Mumbai University. So when the company started coming in, one thing that I realized that, hey, I don't want to get into IT, or I don't want to keep on doing the job which is not going to be of interest to me. I wanted to do electrical engineering. I wanted to stay in my field. So I thought if I want to stay in my field and want to continue in my field, I have to be best in my field. So how to get into the best in my field? Obviously, to study at the best universities which offer my course and my field. Then came Columbia into the picture, US into the picture, and decided to do master in US. This was primary reason. Secondary was I wanted to contribute to community development, wanted to involve with people coming in from different cultures, and learn from different ideas, people with different expertise. And US and Silicon Valley offers me exactly that. Yeah. That was like the second important reason. Thank you very much for the question.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit about you said that you came in Colombia 2015?
No,
2016. Tell me what were the major challenges you faced? I know it's very difficult, finance-wise, family-wise. It's difficult to see your mom crying when you're leaving at the airport. I don't know if that happened or not, but can you speak?
I think that happens in every Indian home out there, so I'm not the only guy for sure. So I think you want to know more about campus life? Or?
No, I want to know about what were the major challenges which you faced from coming from India to here. What thought process you had at that time that, hey, I want to move? What was going in your mind?
So the first and most important thing, I think I'll drop down to it when I'll get into the prodigy part, was of course the finance. And I went to an Ivy League school in Columbia. It's in the city of Manhattan. That's like center of New York. I was living a couple of streets away from Central Park. And it was, I think we had this discussion offline, it was very costly. And that was of course the first challenge, how am I going to pay for it? Second and another major challenge was the change in culture. I was born in an Indian middle class Marathi family, and hence I was brought up with the way upbringing happens in India, traditional upbringing in India. Right. So moving on to a society which is so much about socializing, having your own personal life, it was like a cultural shock for me. Right. Secondly, and thirdly, it was more about the education system. Education system in US is so much different from the one in India. In India, I remember we had this book called KT 280 in Mumbai University, where you will, do the exam and rectify all the answers, go and write it in the exam and get through it. But here, it doesn't work that way. You have to learn the concepts, you have to understand the concepts and then apply them. Right. So these three challenges, I think, were
it's always tough, not even financial wise, but that you're moving out of country. And whenever I'm telling people here who I'm meeting, they're so surprised by it. Hey, you moved your country, you don't have any family, or why did you do that? They don't understand the story behind it. Thanks for telling me that.
Very interesting. Interesting story. I was actually in the New York office just 2 or 3 days ago, so I totally understand how prices vary, and I think New York is probably one of the most expensive cities in the world. So let's chat a bit about Sachin. How did you feel? Do you remember the time Columbia gave you that admit and that hit your inbox? Where were you? What were you doing? And if you could just talk us through that, because I think that is the first checkered flag which comes in your life, and you're like, okay, wow, I'm going to be going to the US, and not only to the US, but to one of the most prestigious MBA schools in the country.
So my story is kind of different. I had it on, I posted it on Facebook, some of the groups, MS in US got like 300, 400 likes. And the reason it was different is because I left my job before I even got a single admit. So I was unemployed for 4 months. And it's not easy to be unemployed for 4 months. You're staying in a home in a middle class family. Not like my dad was some prince of Arabia or some Mukesh Ambani or some stuff like that. So it was really like a difficult mentally as well as emotionally, financially kind of, I would say, because you have to pay for application fees, GRE TOEFL.
Yeah, a lot of money.
A lot of money there itself. Then, but I realized one thing that, hey, this is what I want to do and have to do. So where I was when I got the Columbia admit, I remember the first thing I got was a department admit letter. And it hit me one day, and it just showed up in my inbox. And first of all, I checked, hey, is this really the Columbia University? Because there are some schools with Columbia name. So I googled up, hey, is this the Ivy League school or is this some other school? Then I realized, hey, I applied to only one school, that Columbia, which is an Ivy League school. So yes, it has to be that. So I still didn't understand, and I sent it to my friend, asked him, hey, can you please, is this true? And he's like, yeah, dude, you got an admit, congrats. Then I went ahead and contacted the university. They said, yes, you are coming. We are giving you admit, apply for I-20, go ahead with the decision. And that's how it went. But yeah, it was a shocker for sure.
And I guess this is exactly once you, of course, celebrated back home that you were going to Columbia, you came across Prodigy. Can you walk us through that? Because you mentioned that financing is one of the biggest challenges. And what I personally believe that the master's is like a coin, right? One is the rigor of actually applying to school or be school, and two is the financing, because it's probably the most costliest thing you'll ever invest in. And if you ever even take a loan product, it's probably the highest amount of debt you will take in the next couple of years or for the next couple of years. So could you just like very quickly walk us through how did you learn about us? How's the process been so far? Because you've even graduated and you're currently working.
So this all began, I think, when I got the Columbia admit. The first thing that struck me after I was done celebrating, which brought me back to the ground reality, was, hey, the I-20 75K, how am I going to pay for it? Right. So I was sitting, I remember I had this counselor and I was sitting in an office one day, and I was pondering about it with a bunch of my friends. And one of them brought up, there's this thing called Prodigy Finance. Have you heard of it? I was like, no, I haven't heard of it. What is it? So I went ahead and Googled it, came to your website, and you were a part of it. There's a story 4 years back.
Yeah.
So I saw that there was only one field to which Prodigy was providing finance for, and that was management. And I was too desperate. So I looked up for my school, and there was one place that they were providing for, and it was financial engineering. And then I was like, hey, I have to get money, right? Somehow, whatever happens, I'll just, do everything possible from my end. So I put in financial engineering as the field and applied for it. And these guys rejected me because they are like, hey, you're I-20 said you're electrical engineering, how can you apply for financial engineering?
Sure.
Then I was like, I have to get this through somehow, let's try contacting them, contact us. Then back then there was no phone line, nothing, no live chat, there was only one email ID. I wrote email to that email ID. And somebody forwarded it to Michael Hollis, who was like back then Columbia University. He was a Columbia University alumni and was working with Prodigy Finance.
Nice.
He saw my case and he said, hey, your case looks interesting. We are thinking of sponsoring you. We are starting to fund engineering school. Can we do a quick chat? I was like, sure man, let's do a Skype call. And we set up a Skype call on one Friday evening. I was away somewhere. I ran quickly home, put my headphones on, connected to whatever internet I could find, and did a Skype call with him. And he was like, I don't know what we can do in this case, but since we are starting to provide finances, let's try to get more information and see if we can talk to Prodigy and include Columbia University Engineering School. And then he added me in, looped me in. I remember I got my, I think first approval later.
The provisional offer.
Provisional offer. I got a provisional offer before I went for visa interview. I didn't take the provisional offer letter because I thought, to be honest with you, that point of time, I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't do the letter. I just somehow managed to put all my finances together, ask my relatives, friends that, hey, can you support me? I'm doing this. So I went for the visa interview, got the visa, I landed in here, then I signed off a letter, which was a loan offer letter. And it's been like 3-4 years from then. I was the first engineering school guy apart from my
I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I set up kind of that thing, and then I had my juniors were coming in to get it.
Of course, you
talk
were
to
like
them.
you were the one, the
Started the trend.
Yeah.
I started a trend at Columbia, which
Yeah.
was basically, hey, even if it's. I like enabling people in chasing their dreams. So I said that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Right.
So I started that trend, and it now moved forward. You guys are doing really good with Columbia now. So
Thanks. Actually, yes, it is one of the first schools that we started supporting
Yeah.
in that discipline, and today we support like 100 schools, the top 100 schools that do STEM programs in the US. So that's great, and good to hear that the experience has got you pretty well and so far. A very casual question, and it'll be very interesting for the students that are actually right now flying in. What were the first 3 things you did when you got to the US? The first 3 things you got up from the flight, and what were the first 3 things you did?
good question. I wasn't prepared for it. First, I think was I wouldn't say it was very first. One of the few first. I went to Times Square.
Okay.
Because I landed in New York, right? I'm like, I have to go to Times Square. Second, I went to the building which shows in Friends.
Okay, got it.
Third,
What?
Shows
in
Friends?
There's this
Oh,
building
okay,
in South
yeah,
Manhattan, which downtown Manhattan,
Yeah.
which shows in when you watch the Friends in between the side view. I went there. Second
Okay.
day. And third thing was I went to Columbia and clicked pictures and slept. There is this like a really good garden. Slept there at afternoon time just to take afternoon nap. It was an amazing experience. So,
Right, yeah.
Interesting. No, that's really, really good because Father, I remember even you went and visited the Friends studio.
Uh,
Was this similar?
No, so the Friends was actually shot in LA,
Okay.
but the building they take is like the outside shot is from New York.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. I thought it was always in a studio and it was probably somewhere in Manhattan or maybe somewhere in New
No,
York.
I don't think they can afford to like.
And this was back in 1994,
Yes.
so I'm guessing things are very different.
they
now.
had a what they call it. They had this cafe, right? I think
Central
it's called
Park.
Central Park.
Yeah.
They had a Central Park replica in New York,
Okay.
but they closed it down because it wasn't working well. Apparently,
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Maybe the coffee wasn't good.
the coffee wasn't good, I guess.
True.
All right, let's talk a little about recruit. It's very important that I'm gonna pay so much. I want that return, right? I want to get a good job and I want to work in the company I would like. What are the tips which you would like to give the current students who are coming in, who are struggling to get an internship? Maybe something motivational which you went through.
I think the most important thing in the US, what separates US from India, you have to understand is that networking. In India, it's solely about your skills. You can get jobs to your skills. But in US, it's a lot about networking. You need to know the right people. You need to contact the right people. You need to get as many referrals as you can.
Yeah.
For my current job, which was Qualcomm, I had 2 referrals.
Right.
And they were mostly, one of them was my undergrad friend and second one was my grad senior.
Mm.
So you have to make sure that you pull in as many of your university people as you can, contact them, try to get referrals, which is very important. And secondly is that make sure that you prepare well in terms of skills. Don't just, if you get a single interview, like I didn't interview for many companies. I interviewed like around, I think 5 to 6 companies and I got into 3 of them. So, and on-site was, I think I interviewed for 4 and 4th one that rejected me was Google.
Oh.
So, of course, it was tough one. But rest of the 3, I got into all 3s. So that was like 100% hit rate.
Do you
So,
want to tell those names?
I mean, yeah, sure. I got into Mentor Graphics, I got into Qualcomm, I got into Cadence. I didn't accept invite from Intel and Synopsys.
Okay.
I interviewed with Apple, phone interview, and then Google on-site. So that was pretty much it, and I didn't apply anywhere else apart from that. Amazon came to me, but until then it was late. So
Oh, they came like, hey, you want to interview?
yeah, you want to interview, but I decided that hey, I'm gonna work at Qualcomm until then. So I thought,
How are you liking
it's a great place. I work with probably one of the smartest brains in the industry. I certainly don't, I don't feel bad about not going anywhere else.
it?
Got it.
Well, I think that serves the purpose of your life, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do?
Plus, you guys make the fastest processors in the world, so
I mean, right now, yes.
it is a
We
very
have some
competitive
people-
market. But no, I mean, I think one of the best flagship devices use Snapdragon, so that's a plus. Cool. So we're almost getting to the end of the chat, and this is as real as it gets because I think this is the first time that I've been working out of the US for the last 1 week, right, out of a New York office and stuff. And I've realized how it differs from compared to working back in India. Just the discipline, the timing, and the general etiquette of things, right? So walk us through a day of yours at Qualcomm, and before you get to office as well. I want to understand how do you do what you do on a daily basis.
Okay, so my boss is very chill. So I go to office at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m.
Wow, really?
Okay.
Just, I hope he's not watching it. If he is, so don't fire me tomorrow. So yeah, I go to 11 or 12. The reason is that I don't like to work early morning. I'm not an early riser at all. And first thing that I do in the morning is I go to Starbucks. I grab a coffee. I don't like drive. I don't have a car right now, so I just take an Uber, go to office, and then I start my day. And it's pretty much like mostly my day consists of fixing the chip issues, doing a lot of new ideas, working onto them, discussing stuff with my fellow colleagues and all that. And it involves a lot of brainstorming, and rather than doing the actual implementation, because we have to think of multiple things. I work on this technology called high-level synthesis, which is like we are one of the few progenitors of that technology within Qualcomm. So I attend, because of that, I attend a lot of I have to attend sometimes conferences. I attended one with Cadence recently. I work with a lot of other companies. I work with Cadence, I work with Mentor, I work with this Accelera synthesis group, and I work through that. I work with IEEE New York, which is we currently released the new standard for the language, which is System C design language. That I was working with a bunch of people from Intel. In Europe, we have morning 8 a.m. meetings sometimes because it's Europe time.
Right.
So that I do a bunch of other things. I'm leading this organization for fresh grads in Qualcomm called University to Qualcomm. So I have to help meeting with a bunch of diversity people and a bunch of HRs regarding how to manage what, keep this scheduling things and all that. This is outside my work, by the way.
Yeah, of course. And you're just halfway through your day, so I'm very curious how much you do work a lot.
Yes, so I do all that things, and then whenever I get a little bit of time of myself, when I do all of this, I make sure that I listen to songs, keep my life going, because your personal life is important too. You can't just keep on working 24/7.
Right.
And then I work till around 7-8 p.m. and go home, pretty much sleep. That's it. Meanwhile, enjoy my personal life. Make sure I chat with my girlfriend. Household is important. So
It is.
So all these things, of course.
But yeah, it's been a great chat. I know we have kept it super crisp and concise, but on behalf of Parth and I, if there was one thing you told yourself, or you could tell yourself when you got to the US, what would it be?
I think if there was one thing I could have told myself when I got into US is masters is one part of your life, of course. There are about lakhs of students that fly to do masters every year from India. You have to think what makes you different from them. It's very important to get a good job, I agree. It's very important to do good in academics, I agree. But it's very important to live your life. Across the last 3 years or 4 years when I've been in US, I have traveled to 15 states. I have went on a lot of trips. There was a week when I didn't sleep for 7 weeks, and 8th week I went to Philadelphia to party. So there was this guy I met in Colombia, and I don't want to take his name, but he was a former NIT guy, and then he was India swimmer and all that stuff. He told me one interesting quote. It's important to work for 5 days, I agree. Everybody works hard, everybody has to do it. But make sure that you don't work on 6 day and party. Because you need your personal time. You need to somehow keep your mind stress free for some amount of time. And that I think is very, very important, and that's what I tell people that are watching this as well as to myself.
Great.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I like what you told, and I like how your thought process is working. I like that you are one of those people who got to acquire a lot other than just studies, which is very important.
I consider myself really lucky in that. I had
I think it's just not. I see that people saying that, but I think you're just being humble on yourself. That it's just not the luck. It's a lot of hard work which goes into it.
I had met some really nice people in my life too. which is really important. My mom, who was really supportive in that regards. Like I had a lot of my friends, which are, I think, I met some really nice people at Columbia right now at work. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
Alright.
Thank you so much, Sachin, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
This was fun. This was fun.
Cool.
That was
That's a wrap. That's a wrap.